Hello friends, my name is Forge, and here are 37 things I would change if I was a Splatoon developer. Number 1. Cease production of useless weapons and gear. You know what's awesome? Having a good variety of cool, valuable weapons and a stylish wardrobe ready for any occasion. But you want to know what's not awesome? Sorting through a myriad of garbage weapons with kits unfit for serious battle and having all the good clothes buried underneath a heap of atrocities.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy and appreciate having a huge selection of weapons and gear to choose from, but ever heard of the saying, less is more? Obviously Nintendo hasn't, because in their minds, more options equals more content, which equals more enjoyment. Quality over quantity always wins. Number 2. Allow Salmon Run sub and special preferences. So we're 2 games into Salmon Run and we still don't have the option to choose our subs and specials yet.
But Forge, we have to have Splat Bomb for Flyfish.
But you're all gonna have to listen up.
Because this is where it gets complicated.
Either we allow things like Flyfish and Mudmouths to be taken down with other subs like Suction Bomb or Burst, we don't allow all subs like Splash Ball and Curling to be selected, or number 3, make the Flyfish go extinct. Literally no one actually enjoys these bosses when they're playing Salmon Run, so I'm just going to do us all a favor and make the Flyfish go bye-bye. Number 4, stop splitting players into regional divisions. Ever since the fateful day when X rank was introduced into the Splatoon series, there have always been some major issues with the system. I actually give the developers some credit for trying to address this issue of overseas players experiencing severe lag, but at the same time it's also simultaneously killed the Tentatek division because there are simply not enough players to consistently find games. I don't know about you, but I'd rather play somewhat laggy games rather than waste an hour of my time just trying to get a few games. Number 5. Bring back League.
We had a little bit of a discussion before we came on all together this evening about Fanafiz and Forge. We recognize those faces. If you occasionally get run down playing League and Rainmaker and KO'd in under 30 seconds, chances are it's probably these gamers.
There was really nothing wrong with League in Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, aside from the fact that some trios in 1 could get matched against a quad, but it was completely unnecessary to replace League with Open. And no, the monthly challenges are not League. Every veteran Splatooner knows that's just some BS. My first and most important change as a developer would be to ensure that League returns to the next Splatoon game and never leaves. Number 6. Bring back the funny tower super jump strat. Some of you probably weren't even aware of this, but until several months ago, there was a silly little cheese strategy that existed on tower control. It's a strategy that's existed ever since the birth of Splatoon. If you jumped off from the tower onto a wall, whenever a teammate would super jump to you, they would jump to the tower, regardless of how far away you are from it, so long as you don't touch the ground and remain on the wall. As you can imagine, this would lead to some hilarious reactions from opponents and create some long-lasting memories. For some reason though, Nintendo patched this, but
Under new management.
I would restore this glorious quirk. Number 7. Playground team picking. You've heard it once, you'll hear it again.
My team sucks. Nintendo always gives me the bad teammates.
Well, with this new ability, you will have no one to blame but yourself. Here's how it works. 8 players enter an X-rank game. Before the game starts, the 2 players with the highest power in the lobby are elected as team captains. Then each captain takes a turn picking who they want on their team, one by one. That way, Nintendo is no longer to blame for formulating unfair teams. Now it rests in the hands of the highest ranked players.
If it was me out there, I'd choose Teetsy.
Number 8. Allow players to choose songs during battle. Personally, I never listen to game audio when playing Splatoon, so this doesn't really affect me at all, but I know most players do listen, and I think it would be nice if they could choose which Splatoon song plays during their match so they don't have to listen to one they don't like. Number 9. Allow players to change IGN whenever. So I guess Nintendo didn't like how frequently people were changing their IGNs in Splatoon 1 and 2, so they thought enforcing a 1-month commitment would fix that. But it really hasn't, and now it's more of a nuisance than anything at this point. Having aliases is nice for PBs, but I would allow players to customize their IGNs however they want, whenever they want. Number 10. Allow players to choose ink color. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm not saying we should be allowed to choose any color in existence as our ink color, but that actually does sound pretty cool when I think about it. But what I'm saying here is that we should be able to pick whatever colors that are already provided to us in Splatoon. Because right now it's either random or inverted or whatever the term's called, but nowhere are you able to choose the exact color of your ink and the color of your opponent's ink, which I don't like. Number 11, get rid of the swimming imprint. A pretty small detail, but have you ever been swimming around the lobby area waiting for a match and thought to yourself, well hey, look at that, there's an imprint marking where my avatar was swimming. Well, this also exists in real matches, and the higher level you are, the more noticeable it is. The reason why I would get rid of it is that it really hurts Ninja Swim users. If you're using game audio, you can already hear them swimming, but you can also see them as well, which kind of defeats the purpose of Ninja Swim. So I'm giving the imprint the boot.
See ya!
Number 12, justice for Opening Gambit. You're all aware of Opening Gambit and its cousin, Last Ditch Effort. Opening Gambit works for the first 30 seconds of battle and extends like 15 seconds I think per kill or assist. Last Ditch Effort works for the last 30 seconds of battle or when the objective is pushed past 50. Say what you want, but I'm taking a communistic approach by making the two equal here, even though their enhancements are different. Now, Opening Gambit will continue to work until the objective is pushed past 50.
Yeah, there you go. Now everybody's happy.
Number 13, quirky stages. Back then, a good number of stages had little quirks that made them interesting and fun. Mahi Mahi with its water level effect, Port Mackerel with its long alleyways, and Moray has its abstract high altitude design. Now I'm not saying each of these stages was necessarily good, but they were fun at times. Not every quirk is a home run, some are frankly bad. Wahoo's platform removal is a good example. However, when done right, the results can be amazing. Don't be afraid to get a little quirky. Number 14, you get some of what you ordered. I don't know if any of you have ever ordered a piece of gear from Splatoon 1, but when you get it and it doesn't have any of the subs on it or just one, it can be pretty frustrating. But you know what? I can live with that. But what I can't live with is ordering a piece of gear from someone in Splatoon 3 and not even the main ability is right. Well, that's not going to happen anymore with me as a developer. Number 15, story mode level timing. For any speedrunners out there, I'm sure you're aware of the controversial timing system Nintendo uses for Splatoon's individual levels. When you complete a level, instead of including the whole time, the game only tells you how many raw seconds it took you, not the tens, hundredths, or thousands. Now this might not seem that important, but most of these levels can be done extremely quickly. Since Nintendo only includes whole seconds, that's the time that shows up on the leaderboard. Your time could have been 29.1 seconds and the current record holder's time could have been 29.8, but based on the current system, you'd be considered tied.
Which don't make no sense.
Number 16, Bomb Rush returns forever. I was never a particularly big fan of Bomb Rush when playing Splatoon 1 and 2, but once it was removed in Splatoon 3, I've grown to appreciate it much more. It was a staple special in the first two games, and the only special to appear in both, so its absence in the third was quite noticeable. I pledge to bring it back forever. Number 17, maintain the integrity of returning stages. One of my biggest frustrations with Splatoon 3 is that it loves to put its own little twist on stages from the past, mainly the ones from Splatoon 1. I understand that sometimes making changes is necessary, but Mahi Mahi feels nothing like its original form from Splatoon 1.
What the is even that?
It's like I love it and I hate it at the same time, because I like that they revive good old stages, but I don't like how much they change them. Old stages were good because of how they were designed, so don't mess with that crucial aspect. Number 18, bring back the old spawns. I'm sorry, but dropping from the sky out of a pod is just not my cup of tea. Bring back the old spawns, but elevate their starting platform so that spawn camping isn't as easy as before. Honestly though, if you're getting spawn camped, that kinda sounds like a skill issue to me. Just saying. Don't expect Nintendo to bail you out of every situation.
Gonna cry?
Number 19, individual weapon playmaking outweighs specials. This might sound confusing, but it's something that my buddy Luke and I have talked a lot about in the past. There's no denying that 1 and 2 had some pretty questionable good specials that may have caused some issues. But despite that, it still felt like specials didn't carry players the way they do in Splatoon 3, at least in the competitive scene. Weapons were more of the focal point back then. They had much more base value independent of their kits. The only reason Pen, the most popular support weapon, is used so much is because it has juice and paints well. Compare that to Zap from Splatoon 2, which also paints well and had armor but could also kill quite well. Players using Zap could be a playmaker without armor, whereas Pen just sits back to spam juice and shoot from afar, and Shot needs Zuka shots to seriously penetrate into the opposing defense. Times have changed for sure, I'm aware of that, but I prefer a competitive scene that rewards individual weapon skill over special performance.
Wait, how did the rest of Fizz's team just go down so quickly? How is Fizz coming up with these clutches right now?
Number 20, brand layoffs. At this point in the Splatoon franchise, there are just too many clothing brands. I had trouble just remembering all the ones from Splatoon 1, so it's pretty difficult for me to remember all the new ones. I get it that since we have new abilities, they need a brand to associate with, but I'm sure we can find an alternative solution to that down the road. Oh, and by the way, Forge isn't getting the boot for obvious reasons, just the new ones are getting laid off.
Parker, hello, you're fired.
Number 21, transparency about abilities. I don't know if you know this or not, but the developers don't always do a great job of explaining the contents of their abilities, or they just don't even try to explain. Just look at this description of Last Ditch Effort. If you never did any online research or watched the section earlier in the video about it, you would never know that it also activates after the objective has been pushed past 50. Number 22, Rainmaker swapping. Now here's an interesting one. Ever accidentally pick up Rainmaker? Well, as a Splatoon developer, now you can switch who is in control of Rainmaker. Just a quick note that this won't allow the timer on Rainmaker to reset, the time would just transfer when swapping. Also worth noting is that you can't just switch users whenever and wherever you are. In order to swap, you would need to be right next to the person you're swapping with. Otherwise, it might lead to some crazy situations, as you can imagine. You know what people like? Mario Maker. Well, the latest addition in my career as a Splatoon developer now allows players to craft their own custom stages in private battles. You can share these stages with friends so that they can download them and play them on their accounts too. Obviously, you can't play these stages in X-Rank or League, anything like that, but still a pretty cool function, yeah? Number 24, weather effects. I'm not talking about adding rain into matches or making things cloudy. That would be cool, but I think it would just kind of mess up Splatoon as a whole. I'm talking about specific special weather effects for special holidays. Like what if on Christmas Day snowflakes flew from the sky? Or what if the leaves from the trees fell off on the first day of fall? Just cute little effects like that sprinkled throughout the year to make Splatoon feel more active and more in touch with the real world. Number 25, HP bar. Have you ever heard someone complain like this before?
What? How did I die? They only hit me once.
Are you sure about that?
Well, here I introduce a personal HP bar for players to put their money where their mouth is. This HP bar is only visible to you, so opponents can't see it and you can't see theirs. But you never know when it might help you when you're in battle. But if it's not something you feel like you need or want, you can always opt to disable it. Number 26, different point of view of splatter. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm just not a big fan of the point of view Nintendo gives you of your opponent when they splat you in Splatoon 3. The bird's eye view is just not really what I like. I prefer the close-up shot from the older Splatoon games. Maybe even a point of view from our opponent's point of view would be cool. I don't really care though, as long as it's not the bird's eye view one. Number 27, swimmable trees. This phenomenon has been on my mind for a long time. You can ink the trees in matches, but you can't ever swim up them or use them for anything really except for cover, but that doesn't even really work that well. Well, not anymore. Now trees will reach their full potential.
You're welcome.
Number 28, decrease options for online play. Yeah, sure, that may sound bad at first, but there are just too many different categories for online play to the point that consistently finding players to fight is getting way out of hand. So here's the plan. Everyone in X-Rank is grouped back together, no divisions, as mentioned earlier. Turf War remains the same, and League returns as normal. So there's the one ranked mode, Turf, and League. Trust me, I understand the frustration of being forced to play on bad rotations for ranked, but it's better than everyone being separated into all these categories that we can't even find lobbies. This is what must be done.
What I say is the law. Absolutely and without discussion.
Number 29, more crates. Honestly guys, I'm just a big fan of crates and stages like Triggerfish, Kelpdone, Sturgeon, all of them. That doesn't automatically mean that I love those stages, but I do like the sections with the crates in them. Old Hammerhead was so fun because it had two different things going on the bottom floor and on the upper floor with all the crates, which made for an exciting and quirky stage.
What do you think you're doing with that crate?
Number 30, greater distance between zones. One thing that's pretty cool about zones is that some stages have two different zones, whereas some just have one. Usually though, on stages that have two zones, the distance between the two is relatively small. Back in Splatoon 1 though, stages like Port Mackerel and Moray Towers had very far, very spread out zones, which made for some crazy games. Going forward, I would like to place the zones farther away from each other. Not for every stage, but at least on a few, just to spice things up a little bit more. I'm aware this is something that doesn't always sound good on paper, but when you're actually in battle, it really makes for a fun, enjoyable experience. Number 31, celebrate with NPCs. So if we're going to continue with the trend of choosing our celebrations and doing them, why not include NPCs in our celebrations? Imagine doing your cool spin move and then dapping up Captain Cuttlefish. Man, that would just be so cool. And like for Judd, maybe you could give him like a treat or something. I don't know. There's so many possibilities, guys. Let me know if you have any ideas in the comments. Number 32, edit IGN even after a game. Ever had a really good game that you wanted to post on Twitter, but you had a silly IGN that you wish you could change? Well, old Forge Boy will now allow you to alter your IGN from your recent 50 game catalog in case the IGN you were using in battle is not what you want it to be when you post or whatever you want to do with it.
I got you, bro.
Number 33, more accessibility to Salmon Run gear. I don't get this, guys. Like, why does it take endless amounts of time to get the Salmon Run exclusive gear? The whole King Scale system is literally the worst one in Splatoon 3. It wouldn't be so bad if getting gold scales was much more consistent and we could fight King Salmons more often, but for now, I'm going with a much more simplified method for buying Salmon Run exclusive gear. Number 34, allow for tying. Something I've never really understood in ranked modes is that tying isn't ever allowed. I don't even know why this is the case, because in sports, tying happens all the time and it's quite normal. No, I'm not saying that matches can finish in ties like some soccer games or football games end in ties, but if it's in the middle of the game and both teams push Rainmaker to 50, they will currently be tied. The team that got there first will not have the lead by 1. I don't know why this hasn't always been the case, but it's Nintendo for ya. But imagine if basketball worked this way too. Halliburton hits the tying shot, but oh, Knicks got to 125 first, so Pacers lose.
You lose!
Number 35. AI dummy Octolings. The developers actually did a pretty good job of making the dummies more interactive in Splatoon 3 by placing them on various altitudes and making some of them move rather than just putting them in a random corner. However, I would like to incorporate AI dummies like the Octolings from story mode as well. Number 36, Turf War. I don't even really know how to fix Turf War because that's kind of like an impossible task, but I think that one Shifty Station stage where certain portions of the map would get locked is definitely a step in the right direction. I know some people mentioned a KO feature, but that would just kind of ruin the whole purpose and like thrill of coming back in Turf War, to be honest. This is definitely a work in progress, but more stages will have the feature where sections of the map will become locked.
We're still working on it. It's a work in progress.
Number 37, bring back the old lobby timer. The old lobby timer from Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 never really made sense to me, but I really miss it after being stuck with the Splatoon 3 timer. There was just something about seeing the clock tick down and then going way back up and you knew, oh hey, another person's joining the lobby. It's the little things like that that made connections with the older Splatoon games stronger. Number 38, bonus change, a Puss in Boots outfit. Now we can all feel a little more like the legend himself.
You're not living up to the legend. Gato.
Well, there you have it, friends. I'm Forge, and those were 37 things I would change if I was a Splatoon developer. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and let me know also if you have any suggestions and changes you would make if you were a Splatoon developer. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Corre, corre, gatito.